Hello and welcome to this video on probability tree diagrams, a very important topic in probability. So we're going to think about this problem first by thinking about cars at junctions. So at the beginning, at the start, which is here, we're going to have 100 cars. So imagine it's the car park at school. So there are 100 cars here and they're all going to go home in their different ways. So at each junction, each branch has a probability. So for instance here, we've got the probability of going left is 1/4. And the probability of turning right at the junction is 3/4. So 1/4 of these 100 cars are going to turn left. How many cars does that mean are going to be at this junction? Well, it's 1/4 of 100, so it's 25. Now this means that the other 3/4 are going to turn right at the junction, so here we're going to have 75 cars. Right, now we need to think about what's going to happen to these 25 cars at this junction. So now they've got another choice. They can either go left again, and the probability of them doing that is 1/5, or they could choose to go right, and the probability of them doing that is 4/5. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. We've got the 25 cars. If 1/5 of them are going left, we do 1/5 of 25, which is 5 cars. And then going the other way, going right, we've got 4/5, which is 20 cars. And we can see that if we add those together, we get the 25 cars that we started with. Okay. So far so good. So now what about the 75 cars? So we've got 1/3 going left and 2/3 going right. So 1/3 of 75 is 25. So we've got 25 cars ending up here. And 2/3 is 50. So 50 cars end up here. So say these are different neighbourhoods. This one, this one, this one, and this one. We've all ended up in different parts of town. Now, this is the tricky bit where the probability comes in. How does this tree diagram help us? How does it work? Well, let's look at how many cars we've got in the car park at the end. So here we've got 5 out of our original 100. So we've got 5 out of 100. And that's our probability. So that we go left and left. So let's investigate this a bit more. We've got 5 out of 100, and let's look at what we did when we went along this line. First we did 1/4, and then we had 1/5. And if we simplify this fraction, 5 over 100, we're actually going to get 1 over 20, which, I don't know if you've spotted this, but that is the same as doing this 1/4 multiplied by 1/5. So what we're doing, when we go along each branch of the probability tree, we are multiplying each of the probabilities. So we do 1/4 times 1/5. Now let's check this rule works for the next one, because now we've got 20 cars out of the 100. So we've got 20 out of 100, and we could simplify that fraction to 1/5. Let's see if we get the same. So if we do 1/4 multiplied by 4/5, well, let's investigate this further. So the calculation we're doing is this one, 1/4 times 4/5. And we can see that the 4's are going to cancel, and that's going to leave us with 1/5. So our rule that we multiply them together works for this one too. Now, this one we're doing, well, we've got 25 cars out of 100 in the car park. So 25 out of 100, which is the same as, it simplifies to 1/4, and then our probability that we're multiplying together is going to give us, so now we've got this calculation here, 1/3 times 3/4, which is indeed 1/4, so this one the rule works as well. And on our last one we've got 50 out of 100, which simplifies to 1/2, and that the probabilities we're looking at now are 3/4 and then 2/3, and if we multiply those together, so we're doing 3/4 times 2/3, so we can see the 3's are going to cancel and we'll be left with 2/4, which is indeed a half. So again, this works, we're just multiplying one branch of the probability tree diagram after the other. And this is our rule for tree diagrams. All we need to do now is check that our answers add up to 1, because we know that whatever happens, these probabilities must add up to 1, because the cars have either got to end up in car park 1, 2, 3 or 4. So we do 1/20 plus 1/5 plus 1/4 plus 1/2, and you can check that on your calculators. It is indeed 1, and so we know we've done it right, which is great. So now just quickly to summarise, the rule for probability trees is that you always multiply the probabilities along the branch to get to the end results, and that's what you need to write down on as the last bit on your sheet. Well done.